Welcome to the American Nomad podcast, hosted by the legend himself, or as I refer to him, the legend in his own mind, Rav Holly.
Just ran that intro twice. I hope it worked. Anyway, guys, welcome to the podcast. As usual, I'm struggling to get everything together today. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Rav Holly. Welcome for this. What is it? Wednesday, June the 30th. Is that right? I think I'm right there. Yes, June 30th. You know, I say that and it just blows my mind that it's June the 30th and the month of June is already gone. So absolutely blows my mind. Let's see who we got in the chat here. Looks like we got the Stream Elements bot in the chat. All right, good deal. Anyway, so on today's show, got a one for you. We're going to be talking about this K-pop star, or this wait a minute. Let me restart. We're going to be talking about this person that recently came out. They recently came out as Korean, but they are an English influencer, I believe, from the UK. And, previously they were white or Anglo-Saxon, I believe. And now I guess they are Korean. So that's going to be our topic for today's show. We got the B camera running here. Not sure. I hope the audio's still running. It's a little bit crazy trying to get these two cameras set up right. Hey, Matilda, so good to see you. Yeah, you finally caught the live again. That's awesome. So good to see you. So we're going to be talking, if you haven't heard, or if this isn't, can you hear me, Matilda? Let me go to B camera. I want to see if you can hear me on B camera. Can you still hear me? Or is it cutting out the audio? Hopefully you can still hear me. Anyway, there is this new thing in the news today that caught my attention, and it's this person that's, previously, I guess what you would call them as Anglo-Saxon or white. And they went through a lot of surgeries. And thank you, Joe. Good to see you, buddy. And they went through all these surgeries, and now they have come out. And it's a non-binary person. Let's not forget that one. They're non-binary, and they have now come out that they are actually Korean. So we're going to get into it today on the show. So without further ado, let's hit that intro, shall we? All right. Again, welcome to the show for this June 30th, Wednesday, 2021. We're streaming this with StreamYard, but I'm going to be figuring out if I can multi-stream to YouTube and to Twitch with just OBS, which is a different software that's a free software. There's a good possibility that I will be canceling my paid professional subscription to StreamYard here. It's about $30 a month. I really like StreamYard. I'm probably going to do like a review video before I cancel my subscription. The reason I'm canceling is because, as many of you know, I got demonetized by the YouTube overlords. So I don't make any money off of this anymore. So I've been paying for StreamYard now for the last 4 or 5 months while not bringing any money in. So it's just an overhead that I'm going to pretty much probably let go of. I've actually already figured out how to hey, Random Stacker, good to see you, brother. Random Nomad, for those of you that don't know, Random Nomad has started another channel. His other channel's Random Stacker, where I believe he's talking about, I think you're talking about coins. Am I right, Random Nomad? Like coins and stuff, like maybe coins that might be worth something, like valuable coins. But anyway, yeah, probably I'm maybe going to be letting go of the StreamYard software here. It's so easy. I do love the StreamYard software. It makes things so simple when it comes to streaming. I have these gnats that fly around in my office, and I don't know where they're coming from. It makes things so easy as far as streaming. So I'm pretty lazy, so I do love the convenience of StreamYard. But like I said, it's a $30 a month overhead that when you're not bringing any money in, you kind of got to like sometimes make some adjustments. Oh, well, Random Stacker says I forgot was on the other channel. No problems, brother. So if you do catch the live streams here, if you enjoy the live streams here, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to work that yet. If you saw my last video from yesterday, it was a recorded video. I know Random Stacker saw it, but that may be what I go to here on YouTube, because YouTube is either shadow banned me or something, because I get no traction on my videos here anymore. So very few people are seeing them. So I just can't see to continue to pay the $30 to be able to live stream here to YouTube, when I may just be streaming live on Twitch when I get affiliate, when I finally reach affiliate on Twitch and can get monetized on Twitch. Of course, my mouth will probably get me demonetized on Twitch as well. So, it is what it is. Random Stacker says, look into doing a premiere video. Yeah, a premiere video. I've looked at that. I looked at that when YouTube, when they introduced that a couple of years ago. And I think if I had a premiere video, I'd want it to be something, that's premiere worthy. Does that make sense? Like if I was, at an event, or, having a, my own, if I directed a music video and was having a music video release party, that's pretty much what that's aimed at. I know you can kind of talk and stuff. Random Nomad says, Twitch never works for me. Well, hopefully, we'll see. Hopefully we can get something going there. I'm going to look into OBS, because I think you can stream to Twitch and to YouTube with OBS. I've just never done it, I don't believe, but I did set up and do a stream the other day through, like the podcast. If you saw my last video, that was all streamed with OBS. It wasn't streamed with StreamYard. We're streaming right now with StreamYard. But anyway, I'm just talking about the stuff that, people probably not wanting to hear. So let's jump over here now. And we're going to jump over here, and we're going to do a screen share, and we're going to talk about a little bit about this thing that is going on with oh wow, I did a screen share there. This thing that's going on with this influencer. See, I've got this set up on OBS now, and I actually kind of like the way it works on OBS better than I do StreamYard, though, as far as this. Let's see here. Is that what we want? Not really. That wasn't what I wanted. I wanted just me and the screen share instead of both cameras, but I can't do that. Oh, well, we'll just run it like this. So if anybody has seen this, so here we go. Bing News. Let's see what we got here. So has anybody seen this thing? It's pretty hilarious if you ask me. I mean, it's pretty funny. I mean, it is what it is, but so British influencer Ollie London reveals they've been told to kill themselves for coming out as transracial, while others have threatened to gun them down after 19 surgeries to look like a K-pop star. Now, what they failed to mention there is it says comes out as transracial, but he came out as Korean. This is an English UK pop star, English influencer from the UK, and he has now come out as being I think this is no sound. Yeah, this may be my okay, let me do something here. Testing. Is the sound working now? No sound still? There you go. Okay. This may be my last StreamYard stream. I think I'm pretty much paying $30. Like I said, paying $30 a month for this, and I'm pretty much over it. It actually works better when I start screen sharing. It actually works a lot better with just OBS than it does with StreamYard. I don't ever kill the stream, moving things around with OBS, which is a free software. It's just you can't multi-stream with it. So anyway, I was trying to get back out to, and I just clicked the wrong. I was looking to find a different story here. Than that one that we pulled up there to begin with. Let's try MSNBC here. It looks like it's going to be a video. So this one's better. Influencer now identifies as Korean after 18 surgeries to look like Jimin from BTS. So if you don't know who BTS is one of these Korean pop K-pop bands, and they're super famous. I mean, they're like one of the most, their videos do like the best on YouTube out of anybody. Like, I could be mistaken, but I believe that, they even their numbers outdo like Justin Bieber. Their numbers outdo, like Ariana Grande, all of them, you know what I mean? So, man, this screen share does not work very well with two cameras. Okay, here we go. There we go. And now we want this camera and screen share. Man, this is pissing me off. Looks like that's the only way we can do it. So anyway, Trav Man, what's going on? The font size is small. Don't forget to zoom in, hold control, and use mouse to scroll and zoom. Oh yeah, you guys can't see up there. Let me see if I can blow it up a little for you. There we go. Now you guys should be able to see it better. So anyway, you can see here, this is from his Instagram page. He's been on TMZ. Influencer, I'm finally Korean, had 18 surgeries to look like BTS singer. So, I posted thank you, Trav, man. I appreciate that. You guys are amazing, man. I do appreciate all the help you guys give me when I'm trying to run these streams and forgetting stuff. So I posted an Instagram, I think, and I probably triggered a lot of people about this whole thing here. I told them, I basically said, don't get mad now. You know what I mean? You guys created this clown world, so don't get pissed off now. I mean, this is no different. So, and here's another thing I wanted to say really quick about this is that I was watching a video, and it was like it was a video where, why is this saying BCam instead of my name? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix something here. Something's wrong. That is BCam. This is not BCam. String. Yeah, they both say BCam, but it didn't when I first come in here. Let's see. I know there's a way to just stop that. Let me see if I can just turn it off. There we go. All right. So you see, this is why I think I'm done with StreamYard. I mean, I'm paying $30 a month for this, and I streamed the other day or yesterday on OBS, which I was just recording for the video I did yesterday. I didn't stream it live. I just recorded what I was doing. Had none of these issues, none of these problems. It just works. It's just a lot harder to get get everything going than StreamYard. StreamYard's very convenient for just, putting your stuff in there and then going live, which you don't have to do hardly any setup, which on OBS, it takes forever to get everything set up and ready to go. But anyway, this fucking gnats, I'm just losing my mind today. There's gnats flying around, and I don't know where I'm getting them in my office because there's no windows. There's only one door. But it's like fruit flies. I can't get rid of them. Anyway, this BTS guy, I said, don't get mad now. Or my point is don't be getting mad now because there's no difference than this guy than, someone coming out as transgender. And then I was watching a video, and it was like a bunch of people like watching this guy on TMZ or something. And then they all just started laughing when he said he come out as Korean, there was like a ton of people. I mean, we're talking like a whole restaurant or a whole bar full of people. And they all started laughing. They thought that shit was so funny. It's the same thing as somebody saying they're coming out as, as transgender and that they're a woman now when they were born a male. It's the same thing. I laughed when I started hearing that stuff, and somehow we've normalized that through the media, through the mainstream media. We've normalized this whole thing of somebody coming out, like me deciding to come out as female. If I decide tomorrow, okay, I'm female now. I'm not a male. I'm female now. It's clown world is what I call it. It's what I call it on my Instagram stories, and people get triggered and so mad, but I call it clown world. It's this clown world, bozo, bizarro world bullshit. And, it's what got me demonetized on YouTube. I've had people like make comments like, you shouldn't be saying what you're saying. YouTube should be banning you. You should throw you off of YouTube. And I stepped back and tried to be a good boy, and be a conformist and conform to everything that they were telling me I needed to do because I wanted to get I still would love to get my monetization back. But with that being said, I'm looking right at the camera. I'm going to always be me, and I'm going to tell the truth. And I don't give up. Let me see if my buzzer's working today. I don't give up what YouTube says, what Facebook says, what any of them says, because they've proved already with this Wuhan lab leak that they threw me off of Facebook for. They've already proven themselves to be unreliable with their fact checking and to be mother liars. They're all liars. They're all liars. And another thing that's going around right now is I guess there's this Republican senator that is, he set up like a press conference today and had like 5 people who's had adverse reactions from being vaccinated. Now, number one, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I've said this before. I'm not hey, Monster John, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't care if you get vaccinated or if you don't get vaccinated. But I do want you to realize that you are being like a test dummy. You're the test dummy if you do get vaccinated. That's how they test these vaccines. They put them out to the public. I said it on the last broadcast. I'll say it again. It's like people these days don't realize this. And my whole thing is, as I look back at history, like how well did we do in the past? How well did we do in the past when we were doing this kind of thing? And they did this before. When Gerald Ford was president back in 76, 77, they were having a rah, 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 be an American patriot, and it was the conservatives back then. It was basically the Republicans, talking about, do your part for America, get vaccinated. Today, it's right the opposite. Today, it's the liberal left, you got to get vaccinated. You got to do what everything you have to do to get vaccinated. Okay. So if we go back to what happened in 77, this also happened in 2009, like 11 years ago when the H1N1 with that vaccine, There were people that were paralyzed. And so it's coming out now with this new vaccine that there's been some adverse effects. They had a girl that was 12 years old. She's in a wheelchair now, and she's got like what calls it an NG tube that's feeding her after she got vaccinated. And her mother gave a speech talking about, because she was in the trials for teens for the Pfizer, and now she's in a wheelchair. And this is all stuff, nowadays you can't even talk about it. If you talk about it, you get thrown off social media, or you get thrown off YouTube, because you're talking about it. Well, I got thrown off Facebook for talking about the Wuhan lab leak back a year ago because I never believed it came from a wet market. At very first, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I'd heard about viruses before, jumping from animals. That's usually how that happens, like with Ebola and stuff. But then, I found out that there was a lab in China. They study coronaviruses, and it's called the Wuhan Coronavirus Lab. What's the virus called again? Somebody fill me in. So, you put two and two together. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out there's a good possibility that, something happened, with a lab there. There's been movies, that talk, there's been movies in the past where, the lab screws up and the virus or whatever escapes from the lab. We've had movies about this. Anyway, let's jump back into the chat here. Monster John, good to see you, man. You still playing some Call of Duty, buddy? I've got to get back on my Call of Duty game, but I'm just so disenfranchised with Call of Duty, with all the cheating, and I don't really care that much for the season 4. I'm actually looking at maybe playing something else for a change. Travman says, let's see what Travman says. Travman says, yeah, they're like mold or fruit flies. They look like little specks of dust floating around in the air. Yeah, I think they're fruit flies. But I don't have any fruit in here. I've never had any fruit in my office, so I don't know where the hell they're coming from. The only thing I can think of is my dog has dog food from time to, but I don't know, doesn't make sense. Rav rant, love it. Matilda says, yeah, you got me. They've got me ranting again, Matilda. If you haven't been in here lately, like the last, month, 2 months, my podcasts have just been, I just pick out some mundane subject from the day. You can ask Travman, or you can ask Random Nomad for sure. He's always here. And I just, randomly talk about something that, doesn't really get my soul stirring, I should say. But lately I've just been like, you know what? F it. I'm just going to talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. And, this whole thing with this K-pop star, or this English, he's not even a K-pop star. He's just an English white guy influencer who has now come out as Korean. And, the sad part about that is back in the day when people, started coming out as gay, and then you started having people come out as trans, I was all for it, all with it. You know what I mean? I'm like, let people do whatever they want to do to be happy, was my philosophy in life. I didn't think they were hurting anybody. I didn't see anything wrong with it. But I would hear people that were crazy right wingers, like crazy Republicans, say stuff like, well, if you let them come out as goddamn, you let them come out as if you let some man come out as a girl, what's next? People's going to start coming out as black, or they're going to start trying to come out as dogs, and I'd be like, man, that is so stupid. Like, nobody's even going there. So why are you dragging this into that territory and going there when nobody else is going there? They were right. I've had to backtrack. I've had to rethink it. They were right, because if you give people an inch, they're going to try to take a mile. So now we're living in bizarro world times. We're just stupid shit is happening on a regular basis, and it's being spoon fed through us. It's being shoved down our throats through the media, even from the government. This woke culture that we're living in. And, I rail against it. If you go look at my Instagram story right now, dude, like I said, my pronouns are go you. That's my pronouns. You're not going to put me in your box. everybody's got to be, a conformist. You got to get vaccinated. You got to use your pronouns. You can't offend anybody. All this bullshit. Trapman says another fact you got to look at: what area of the planet did the coronavirus come from as far as goes to the population? How many kids could they have per family household? Very true. And that's a whole nother rant for me is, being on Clubhouse a couple of weeks ago. I got into it on Clubhouse with, a couple of people that lean way left because I said something about China, and the virus, and they're oh, that's racist. I was like, what? And they're like, you can't say that. That's racist. I'm like, what's racist? That the virus came from China, or that? Oh, I called it the Wuhan virus is what I called it. And they're like, you can't say that. It's racist. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I started going back through history, like, the Spanish flu, all of these viruses in the past that have been named, or illnesses that have been named by where they originated. And these two, millennials were talking about, you can't say that. It's racist. Can't say that. Can't say that. That's racist. You can't call it the Wuhan virus or the China virus or anything like that because that's racist. My whole thing is why are you so fucking worried about China? And this one kid he was all on China's nuts. So I was like, why are you so into China? If you're so into China, if you're so into communism, you're so into China, you're such a big cheerleader for China, move to fucking China. Go. We don't want you here. Find the first plane. Go. You can move there. There's lots of Australian expats that live there. There's lots of people from the UK that live there. There's even Americans that live there. If you're so in love with China, if you're so in love with communism, buy a plane ticket and get the fuck out. Go. We don't want you here anyway. If you hate the United States, if you hate the American flag, if you hate capitalism, get the fuck out. Go. And that's the way I feel about it. And their whole thing was, no, we're going to change this country. No, you're not. You know why? Because people are waking up. People are tired of your bullshit. People are going to start pushing back. And we're starting to see the very tip of that. I'm even seeing my liberal friends starting to push back, starting to post stuff that's a little bit controversial on Instagram because they don't agree with this bullshit, but they're too scared to say anything because they don't want to get canceled because of cancel culture. Matilda says the F virus was absolutely created in a lab. Absolutely, it was created in a lab. And, I heard months ago from, I don't remember who it was, but I heard months ago that somebody was saying that, that there was some scientist that was looking at the genetic makeup of this virus, and there's stuff that's in this virus that can only be contributed to be man influenced or influenced by humans. That you wouldn't find these keynotes or whatever they are in a virus that, originated in the wild. So that's, but the whole thing is mainstream media. They've basically, what's the word? They've suppressed. That's the word I'm looking for. They've suppressed this all along because they don't want people to know the truth. And the problem is, it's not a problem, but it's what I'm waiting for, is because people are going to wake up and people are going to see them for what they are, and they're going to lose all of their credibility. And the crazy thing is Trump was screaming fake news for 4 years, and people were so triggered by that. And now people are going to start realizing, and people are realizing even on the left, especially with this Wuhan thing, this Wuhan lab leak thing that's now pretty much, solidified that that's exactly how it happened, that people realize like, oh shit, like, and like myself, I got thrown off Facebook for 30 days, and I'm thrown off Facebook right now for 30 days as well. I'm like I have like 20 days left before I can get back on Facebook because I said something about the virus again, so Facebook throws you off, which, it's like, whatever. Good. Thanks for doing me a favor, Facebook. I was, no reason to waste my time on Facebook, right? But anyway, they were suppressing all that information and throwing people off of social media for saying anything about there was a possibility that that the virus leaked from a lab. I'm talking about a year ago, not recently. Like a year ago, I got banned for 30 days on Facebook for saying, there's a good possibility that this virus came from the lab and didn't come from a wet market. Boom. Somebody reported me and I was gone. We got into a little heated debate about it, and then they reported me for bullying, and poop, I was gone for 30 days. So, or that wasn't bullying. I can't remember or false information or whatever, Facebook deems it. But now they've had to eat their words. So now we know that Facebook was wrong and I was right. So how does that make Facebook look? And then under all of my little posts, Facebook, put their little fact check stuff, you got to check the facts. We got to check the facts. So you got to read this little thing under his post, because here's the facts. Guess what? Those facts are nothing more than propaganda and lies, which we now know, because they said it didn't come from a lab. That was their fact checkers. Their fact checkers were wrong. So if their fact checkers were wrong about that, what else have their fact checkers been wrong about? Their fact checkers are wrong about anything that they believe that's their own agenda and ideology. That is what they're wrong about. They're not facts at all. It's government propaganda. Just like the Gestapo used to deliver those little pamphlets from airplanes that they'd drop out, for people to read. Propaganda. It's not facts at all. And we're 32 minutes into the broadcast, but yeah, so, people are so triggered now by this guy that's, come out as Korean. And I don't, how can you rail against him, and, be totally on board with, somebody coming out as non-binary, or somebody coming out as, some guy coming out as a woman. It's all the same bozo bullshit when it comes right down to it. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't have anything against trans people. I don't have anything against gay people. I don't have anything against Indian people, black people, Chinese people, whatever. I don't have anything against anybody. I'm like, live your life. But when you start pushing your ideology on me, then I got a problem with it. If I don't believe in it, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing YouTube can do to force me to believe in your bullshit. Yes, I will be nice and I will call you a female if you're a dude with a dick that wants to be a woman. If that's what you want to be, you're never going to be a woman, but I'll be nice and call you a her or whatever, just so I don't hurt your feelings to your face. But I'll also tell you to your face, I don't give a fuck what you look like. You may look just like a woman or a biological woman. You will never be a woman. You will never have a menstruation period. You will never get pregnant. You will never give birth. The only way you could ever be a parent is to adopt. You know what I'm saying? If you're transitioning to a woman and you were born with a penis, that's the facts of life. That's just the way it is. If you are a female or a woman that was born a woman and you're born with a vagina and you are transitioning to a man, you will always be a woman. You may even get a hysterectomy so you don't have your menstrual cycle on a monthly basis, or, you might get a mastectomy and have your breasts removed and do all of these things that you need to do, to appear as a man, and you may take testosterone so you can grow a beard and a mustache. I don't give a shit what you do. You're still a woman. You'll always be a woman. Put you into a room with 100 men that were born with penises, and most of those men could probably beat the brakes off of you. Literally, like beat the living dogs out of you. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. You'll always be a woman. They say don't judge a book by its cover. Just because you look like a man or just because you look like a woman, doesn't mean you are one. And I know that's, what is it, transphobic to say this stuff? maybe I'm not, like I said, I don't have anything against you. Live your life. Have a good time. If you want to, I do believe that people are born that way. I'll be the first to tell you, I've said that for years. I believe people are born gay. I believe people are born, trans. I believe there's a people in the world that they're just born with the wrong identity inside. A perfect example of that is growing up with my cousin. I have a cousin. I'm not going to put his name out here on this podcast. But I talked about that, Matilda, on yesterday's video. Ciro's so brave to come out as Korean, right? So brave, Ciro. So brave to come out as Korean. I don't know what I want to be. I think, isn't that for the leftists though, isn't that cultural appropriation? Is that why the leftists are so mad? But my whole thing was watching the leftists laugh like it was silly that he was coming out as Korean. Well, it's silly that he came out as non-binary because it's a him. You keep hearing me say he. It's a him. Matilda says, I think that'll really be a reality one day. What is that, Matilda? What do you think will be a reality? I mean, it doesn't matter what science does. I mean, it might be, I'm sure down the road, who knows, 50 years from now, they may be able to make a dude have a menstrual cycle or whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're born with, that's what you are. I mean, as far as your sex. I mean, it's unfortunate if you were born and you feel like a woman on the inside, but you were born with a penis. It's unfortunate. I don't know why that's happening. It's got to be something to do with, your brain development or something developing when you were growing in your mother's womb. Somewhere the wires got crossed in there while you were developing. Because, I have a lot of religious people in my family and they don't believe that, gay people are born gay or whatever. They absolutely believe it's like a choice. And I was having this conversation, I think with my stepmom or someone, and they were saying that. And I'm like, maybe it was my dad. They're all Texans, old Texans, that believe, the conservative way. But I was telling my dad, I have a cousin. And I'm not going to mention his name on this podcast, but I have a cousin that I grew up with. We knew, and he's older than I am. He's 4 or 5 years older than I am. So when I was like in probably like 5th, 6th grade, he was already like in 8th or 9th grade, I guess. But I knew he was gay. I didn't even know what gay was, but I knew he was different. Does that make sense? He exhibited all of the signs of being gay. We just didn't know what gay was at that time. But I used to ask my aunt, like, what's wrong with him? I used to say his name. What's wrong with so-and-so? And she'd be like, what do you mean? I'd be like, why does he talk like that? Because he had that very distinct, that dialect that gay men use. He was using that when we were kids and we grew up in the middle of motherfucking nowhere doing ranch life. You know what I mean? He was roping calves and he was a great calf roper. Like my older cousin, that's his older brother, wanted to be he's a professional roper now, but his younger brother was always better at those things than he was, which drove his older brother crazy because he didn't care anything about it. It wasn't his thing. He's like a big somebody in like a medical facility now, like in Dallas, or I don't remember where he's at. I can't remember. I think he's in Phoenix. I heard last. He was in Dallas. Now he's in Phoenix, and he's like the head chief person of some big medical facility or something. I mean, he's done well for himself, but we knew as kids, I mean, he had that gay guy dialect when we were kids. So that whole thing, I used to think that gay dialect was dudes putting that on. You know what I mean? I think they play that up some when they get around each other and stuff. But when they start talking like, when they start talking like, oh, hey girl, and all that stuff, I used to think that was just an act. But then I got to thinking about, my cousin talked like that shit when we were kids. He had that little lisp, that little gay, and we grew up, like I said, we rode the school bus 14 miles to get to school. It took me an hour and a half every morning to get to school. And my cousin was talking like that shit back in the 70s. So you can't convince me that they're not born that way, because I think they are born that way. And that's why I believe, I'm all for, if gay people want to get married, whatever, do your thing. I don't care about that stuff. I've been pro gay marriage, whatever. I will say, getting older, and I guess as you get older, that you always get more conservative. I actually look now, I've been doing some soul searching or thinking to myself, when you look at, I believe children should have a mother and a father, and they should live in a household with a mother and a father. And I absolutely believe that that's a lot of what the problem is with society today. I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't lock our doors. We didn't lock the door at night in the front of our house. I mean, I tell people, I tell these kids this these days, these millennials, and they don't believe that. No, we didn't lock the door. When we went to sleep at night, sometimes we left the main door open and just left the screen door closed to get more airflow through the house. You know what I mean? Like at night, we didn't even lock the doors. We would pull up in our vehicles. My dad would pull up in the front yard or pull up at the house in the drive, get out of the truck, leave all the windows down, and leave the keys in the ignition. Kids can't fathom that these days. Millennials cannot even fathom that was the case. But that's where I grew up. So these millennials, they want to look at, how much, they've improved the world, and they're so smart. Are you? How much have you really improved the world? How much have we actually progressed? Because in a lot of things, we've digressed. Because now my dad out on the ranch, he has to lock everything up. People have come out, tried to stole stuff out of his barn. So now he has to lock the barn up, and he's got locks on everything around the house. Even into the 90s, nothing was locked up. We didn't have to lock anything up because there was a moral fortitude for Americans that doesn't exist today anywhere in this country. You have a bad element of everyone. And I don't know exactly where that came from or how that got created. I think a lot of it stems from divorce. I think if you look, I have a freaking gnat on my hat. I think if you look at a lot of the downtrodden, and I think if you look at society in general, like this slope where we've backslid, I think a lot of that absolutely is, in my opinion, because of divorce. I think when a child was raised in a 2-parent household their entire lives, which if you look back at the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, into the 60s, even into the beginning of the 70s, I think the divorce rate started skyrocketing into the 70s. That's when it all changed. And that's when women went to work. It used to be the mom stayed home and took care of the kids, raised the kids. Dad got out, went to work, and took care of the family. And it's such a funny thing because, I love conspiracies. I love to listen to conspiracies, and I read every conspiracy that comes out, and I read this stuff. And I can't remember what book it was that I read. It might not have been a book. It was an article I read on the internet or something, but it was a deal I read about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I kind of stumbled onto it, and it was a guy in this book. I want to say he was like a government official or something, and he had been in the government back in the 70s or something. And so he knew what was going on back in the 50s. And he was talking about that it was a government sponsored thing for women to go to work. It was a billionaire sponsored thing. He was saying it was like, it was a thing from oh my God, what's the old family? The Rockefellers, like that Rockefeller type, those Rockefeller business people from back in that day. They're the ones that promoted the women's liberation. They're the ones that dreamed that up. They're the ones, and they pushed that into our government because they wanted that, because when women were staying home, that meant half of the population of the United States weren't working and weren't earning taxes. And the government wanted more money for taxes. So they, back in the 70s, started pushing, or the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, started pushing this narrative to get women out of the house and get them to go to work, and started talking about women's rights. And everybody was on that bandwagon after a certain time. People fought it to begin with, especially men. But then men were, they were beat down, that you had to be quiet, because if you weren't a woman, you had no say in women's rights and women's liberation. If they wanted to get out and get a job and go to work, that was women's business. And so men had to shut the fuck up about it. Right. And, you look back on it now and find out that was all government propaganda, a government conspiracy, because the government wanted women in the workplace, because they looked at Taiwan at the time that was coming up, and these other Asian countries, and what do they call them? The tigers, the Asian tigers or whatever, I can't remember what they call those. There's 6 Asian countries like China, Japan, and they call them the something tigers. And they saw that the United States would not be able to compete into the 80s and 90s, because we would get left behind, because women in those countries worked already. They weren't seen any different. So our government knew, for us to compete into the future in a capitalist market, we had to have the other half of the population, which was women that didn't work, that stayed home and raised babies. They needed to be out in the workforce and working and generating taxes for the wealthy and for the government. And so this whole women's liberation movement, which I bet you offends the absolutely out of women that are listening, if any women listen to this, because they thought, oh yeah, we're women liberated. We want equal rights. We want to work. We want to do this. And come to find out, it was all just government propaganda to get you out of the house and get you working so you could pay your share of taxes. Because are women taxed? If a woman goes to work, does she have to pay taxes on her income from what she works? Absolutely, she does. Absolutely. So did that conspiracy talk make sense to me? Absolutely it does. Because if you have half the population of the country staying home raising kids, that's a lot of taxes the government's missing out on. Let's see what C-Rose says. Let's jump back in the chat here. C-Rose, I don't know where you come from, dude. You're new. I'd love to see new people. I love my old regulars like Matilda and Travman and Random Nomad, but it's always good to see somebody new in the chat. So C-Rose says, let's see. When we grow up, we are taught this and that, but I think that some people are really born certain ways. Absolutely, C-Rose. I believe so as well. I feel like some gay men just develop that female tone to their voice from being around them more. Could be. Absolutely could be. Matilda says, now we have security cameras, Ring doorbells, such a shame now. Absolutely. That's so true. And, I'm going to say something that's trigger warning. It's so funny. You got to give trigger warnings now. What the fuck is that? Trigger warnings. What the hell? Who is the millennial generation? I know Random Nomad. I know you're a millennial. But the millennials, and nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault for millennials except for Generation X, because they're our kids. Millennials are Gen Xers' kids, but millennials are I just don't even understand what the deal is with millennials. And I kind of posted that today on my Instagram stories. You're the junk generation. I mean, I know everybody loves to shit on millennials, but you really are. You're the junk generation. You're the, I need a trigger warning. I need mental health talking about mental health, talking, if you look through my Instagram, it's all millennials. This is all millennial hyperbole or whatever you call it. They're all just talking about their mental health and their feelings and all of this stuff. It's all about their feelings. And, if you look back at Gen Xers like myself, we remember Twisted Sister. We're not going to take it anymore. We were cynical. We were rebellious. We were telling them to go fuck yourself back in the day when I was a kid. Fuck football practice, school, fuck high school, fuck you. That is who Gen Xers were. You know what I mean? And that's who I am. I'm still a Gen Xer to the core, man. I was so rebellious when I was a kid, and that's never left me. And people want to shut me up now because I've always been this way, man. I don't know what happened to you. I've always been this way. In Texas growing up, it was the conservatives that I looked at as little bitches. They were such little bitches. They were always complaining about this or complaining about that. Your hair's too long. A men's hair shouldn't be that long. So I grew my hair out. My hair used to be down damn near to my belt line or, my waist. It was at one time in Texas, living in Texas, just to despite those motherfuckers. So I'm not about judging people. So that's when I say, like, gay people, I believe they're born gay. So, you can't change who somebody is, but don't start pushing your stuff down my throat if I don't believe in it. Like, when I had long hair, being rebellious in Texas as a kid, as a teenager, and I had long hair and, I'd walk into a restaurant and, dudes would, them old farmers would talk shit, they'd be talking smack, about, oh, is that a boy or is that a girl? I don't know, Phil, I can't tell. Looks like a guy, but hell, with that long hair, you can't really tell. So I understand all that stuff. You know what I mean? I get it. I grew up in that generation. But, and I didn't like that closed-minded conservative tone. So that's why I railed against conservatives. So I look at it, I just kind of rail against whoever's in charge, I guess, because now it's the liberal agenda that's in charge. Back then, it was the conservative values. And I understand those conservative values because, like I said, it was because of those conservative values back in the day that you didn't have to lock your door, that you didn't have to do this and you didn't have to do that. And I didn't see it as a kid. I see it now that a lot of things that I railed against as a kid, I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget, like, I saw this thing like in the 80s and it was like this little news clip of, like, I don't know, Truman or I don't know, some old racist dude running for governor or whatever. And I remember being so appalled by what he was saying, but I'll never forget because I went, wow, because it stuck with me what he said. And it was some of the most racist shit I'd ever heard. But he goes, because it was talking, I was in Arkansas. It was in Arkansas or somewhere when they were opening up the schools to be integrated. And they were interviewing this person in like Little Rock or whatever. And he's like, you start letting these black people do this, before long, everybody in town's going to have to be locking their doors. What? You know what? Because I was all for letting black people go to school with me or wherever, I don't think there's black people shouldn't be allowed to go to school. And I don't think integration's wrong or anything, but he was right. You have to say he was right. Because he said, it's some racist shit. It's so racist, but it's truth. So truth trumps everything. No Trump or, no, pun intended. For me, honesty and truth trumps everything. And I'll never forget, it was a black and white clip. And this old racist dude who was throwing a fit because they was letting some black girl go to the white kid's school. And the police had to like escort her to the school. And like the news or whatever went to interview him. And he's not saying black people or he's saying the N-word, you know what I mean? He's like, you let these start going to school with these white kids, it will be no time till everybody in town's going to have to be locking their doors. I think everybody locks their doors now, don't they? But back then, nobody locked their doors. So it is what it is. And you can get offended and you can throw a fit and you can say whatever you want to say. You can call people names. You can throw around the R word, the racist word, whatever you want to do. The truth is the truth. Back in the day, when this country were ruled by whites, when the whites ruled everything, nobody locked their doors. When back in the day, when there was no everything was segregated, there was no, the crime statistics were not even half what they are today, not even a quarter of what they are today. You probably have more murders today in the city of Chicago than you probably had in the entire United States in 1945, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. Now, I'm just talking out of my ass when I say that, but I would almost bet money. I bet you money, because there wasn't much crime back in those days. And when crime happened, people lost their minds over it. It was like, oh my God, a bank got robbed. Oh my God, there was a shooting in, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Holy crap. Did you hear about that shooting in Kalamazoo, Michigan? I mean, now don't get me wrong. There was no internet back then, but still things traveled. Like when Bonnie and Clyde was running around, everybody in the United States knew what was going on. I mean, they might get the news a day or two late, but it's like they weren't communicating. They had telegraph, they had newspapers. People knew what was going on. It's the generations today think because we have the internet that, back in, the boomer days, that they didn't know what was going on. They only knew what was going on in their little town. No, everybody knew what was going on. You had national newspapers that were, you've been able to buy the New York Times in Dallas for 50 years. Let's jump back in the chat, see what people have to say. Travman. Zero. Let's see what Zero says. Zero says, I agree to trigger warnings that people are becoming too soft and not able to take any jokes or anything without offense. Absolutely. And what I love though, Zero, am I saying your name properly? Zero, is people are waking up to that, or people are starting to push back on it. It's taken forever, but it's starting to happen. Travman, yep, I felt with all of this kind of stuff through the 80s in Minneapolis, Murderapolis, 2021, 20 plus 21. How old am I? Yeah, we got to give giving our age away, but that's okay, Travman. Travman says, yep, I lived through all that stuff. Sarah, most of the time I double or triple lock my doors to feel safe. So that's a thing that, our great grandparents did not deal with. They didn't lock their doors. They didn't have to lock their doors. That's how far we've progressed. And you listen to these millennial kids these days, especially the 24, 25, 26-year-olds, they think that the past generations are just so dumb and, everything is so progressed now. And, society's so much better because we're so much more intelligent, and they have the internet and we have the internet now, and technology's progressed so far. When it comes right down to it, we have digressed way back in lots of different ways. Society in general. And then now you have white leftists that are railing against all of this different stuff. And if it wasn't for white people, all of that different stuff would have never happened. You know what I'm saying? Like people that are, that are on the, let's take slavery, for instance. So now that's a whole big thing, slavery, reparations, and all of this stuff. Well, if it wasn't for white people freeing the slaves would still be slaves. Correct? If it weren't, let me say this again. If it weren't for white people, yes, white people got together and said, you know what? I don't think slavery's that good a thing. You know what I mean? Maybe we shouldn't have slaves, or maybe we shouldn't keep people as slaves. Maybe we should be better. And they were progressive, so they freed the slaves. White people did that. And now it's white liberals that are railing again. You know what I mean? It's white people that freed the slaves. I mean, they fought a war. They had to fight a war. That's part of the war was, people keeping slaves and taking slaves away from them. But, it was white people that was fighting white people to free the slaves, right? Republicans. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, which, that bites the Democrats right in the ass because they want to claim Lincoln. And so they can claim Lincoln. They will immediately talk about, well, the party switched. The party switched. Everybody knows the party switched. No, that's bullshit. It's just another thing where liberal, Democrats can't admit the truth. You know what I mean? They got to spin everything. Let's see what Ciro says. Most of the time now I read that already. Ciro says, I think that our country needs a reason to unite and be together. That COVID hasn't helped at all. The most we have been united so recently was 9/11, which is horrible, but everyone was together. You know what, Ciro? I absolutely agree with you. But the problem is, bro, is, and I hope I didn't offend you by calling you bro. The problem is a 9/11 wouldn't unite the country because there's a large majority of this country that wants to see the other part of the country dead. And I can tell you that is a fact. I know there's a lot of liberals that despise Republicans or Trump type supporters so much, they would just soon see them dead. When the country music festival happened shooting in Vegas, I saw a lot of liberal friends of mine going, "They good. That's what those Trump supporters deserve. That's all them country music supporters," because it was a country concert. And it was even on The View. They talked about it on The View. One of the girls on The View said, I was horrified. One of my girlfriends said, "Oh my God, I was so happy they got shot. It's a bunch of Trump supporters. Maybe they'll talk about, gun laws now or new gun control." So we're too divided at this point. So there's not going to be, I don't think there's anything. I mean, the only thing I think that could bring this country together, there is one thing I literally do believe that could bring us together as one again. I think it could bring the entire world together. The only thing that would be an alien invasion. I think if aliens come down, like when Ronald Reagan, wasn't it Ronald Reagan that said something about if aliens invaded us, that, everybody would come together and there wouldn't be any Democrats or Republicans. It would be the human race. There wouldn't be any Russians or any Americans. It would just be the human race fighting the aliens as one. That's the only thing I think at this day and time that could bring this country together would be like an alien invasion. I don't think anything politically. I don't think, even like now, if you say, it was Saudi Arabia that rammed the planes supposedly into the World Trade Center. Now, there's a lot of argument and speculation about who it really was. But, if you go back to the narrative of the story and what the government released, it was Saudi Arabia. If you say anything about a Muslim person that's derogatory, you're now a Islamophobic. You know what I mean? Well, they killed 3,000 Americans, right? Knocked down 2 of our most iconic buildings. And now you're worried about hurting their feelings? Millennials, you're worried about hurting their feelings? I don't give a about their feelings. Now, I have dated a Muslim girl from Pakistan. I have nothing against Muslim people. As a matter of fact, the Muslim people I know, some of the most... God, what is the word I would use? Moralistic, I guess. Their morals are, very, very in check. Like if they tell you something, they're going to do it. Like when she told me she was going to do something, I had other girlfriends that would tell me something similar. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'd think whatever, you know what I mean? And I would think the same thing with her. She'd say so. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And she would do it, dude. I'd be like, did you do so? Oh yeah, it's already done. Oh my God, you did it? Because if she said she was going to do it, she was going to do it. She wasn't just blowing smoke up my ass. She was going to do it. If she said it, she was going to do it. And if she didn't do it or if something happened, she would literally let me know, like, oh, you know what? That thing I said I was going to do, I can't do that. Just wanted to let you know I can't do it because I had this and I had that. She never flaked on stuff. You know what I mean? And I just always considered it part of her moralistic background being a Muslim. They just do things differently. I know it sounds weird, but, she is you could count on her still today. Like if I had somebody to call and I needed something, like if I really needed something, she would be one of the people that, I don't really have a lot of people that I would call that I think I could depend on. But if I needed something, I think I could depend on her. I think she would be there for me. And I haven't even seen her in probably 5 years. Let's see what Travman has to say. Travman says, astronomers, go away, Nat. Astronomers, go away, fruit fly. Astronomers have found several planets that are in Goldilocks zones and habitable zone, and time is relatively. So therefore, it's relative to their spin and mass of their planet in the habitable zone. Yes, and it's kind of crazy that all of a sudden our government is coming out and talking about aliens when for the last 40 years of my life that I thought about UFOs or even said anything about UFOs. It was all big government, top secret. They never admitted to anything. You know what I mean? It was just always, the government just something they always sidestepped. Now they're coming out releasing videos of Navy pilots taking, videos of these alien aircraft, and they've even renamed them something. They're not UFOs to the government anymore. So that's kind of interesting too. It's kind of funny because if you ever listen to Bill Cooper or William Cooper, who wrote the book Behold a Pale Horse, he always said that the United States government, I don't know if you know this, he always said that the United States government knew the origins of man, that the higher ups, he said, it might not even be the president, but there's a minority of government at a certain level that knows the origins of man, that it's no secret anymore. And I always wondered about that and what he meant with that. Very interesting. I always found that very interesting and very compelling that he would always say that. Soros says people will believe anything that they want to hear. Very true. Very, very true. All right, guys, this freaking hour has flown by. Matilda, you still with us? Yeah, I was pretty much ranting again today, but it is what it is. And I was going to touch on one more thing, but I forgot what it was now. I didn't write it down. I'll have to remember it for next show. All right, Matilda says, yep, still here. So yeah, I just I think we're going to, I know. So if you didn't know, the FDA has now come out and actually put a warning on all 3 of the COVID vaccines for heart inflammation. The Swiss Vapor, what is going on? Hey, good to see you. So I think it'll be interesting to see, where this all goes. It's going to be crazy if we find out that these vaccines have some kind of really bad adverse effects after a while. It's going to be pretty wild. The Swiss Vapor says, prepare for work. Absolutely. I already got my vaccines with no heart issues. I heard it's a very rare chance to get in usually teens. Absolutely. That's exactly what I've heard too, Sorrow. Yeah, I'm not anti-vax, but my only thing is just understand, it seems like people don't understand that you're the test subject. That's how the United States government tests vaccines. They put them out to the public in mass to find out what adverse effects has. We've been through this before. You can look back through history. In 1977, they did the same thing with an H1N1 or a swine flu vaccine or breakout. And lots of people got sick, and there was some kind of syndrome that they got that could kill you. And they literally ended the vaccinations after only 25% of the population had been vaccinated. And you even had Gerald Ford, I think it was Gerald Ford, who's the president, rolling up his sleeve, getting on television, getting vaccinated, because they were heavily promoting people to get vaccinated. And the thing is once you get vaccinated, They're waiting to see what adverse effects, like all these people that say, oh, I have nothing wrong with me. That's right. Right now you have nothing wrong with you. But let's look at 5 years. Will you have anything wrong with you in 5 years? And if not, then yeah, safe vaccinate. It's a safe vaccine. We all know it. But you're testing it for us. If you got your vaccines, you're testing it so we know it's safe. People just need to go into it knowing that. And it's like people don't know that. It would stink if in a few years effects start to show up. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And we don't know. We do not know. And in the H1N1 vaccine from 2009, 11 years ago, I don't think it's going to show up. I really don't think it's going to show up in adults. I think adults are fine. I think it's going to show up in the kids because this little 12-year-old girl is now paralyzed. She's on DG or whatever it's called tube. And that's the same thing that happened with the H1N1 vaccine. People don't, this is not new. We've been down these roads before, but people just listen to whatever the government tells them these days. If you go to YouTube, let's do this. I'll show you. People don't know this. I'm going to show you something. I know we're already past an hour. I'm going to show you something that I don't think most people know. But if we go to YouTube right now, let's jump to YouTube. All right, here's YouTube. Now we'll go to YouTube and we will type in vaccine paralyzes. Oh, I can't spell paralyze. Paralyzed teen. All right, so here we are. And see if I can make it a little bigger for you guys. There we go. 11 years ago, teen paralyzed after getting the H1N1 vaccination. FDA members on why she voted against Pfizer vaccine. So 2 months ago, Vegas teen fighting for her life after receiving J&J vaccine. Did 3 or 4 develop Ball's palsy? I don't know about that. But here we go. So teens rare H1N1 vaccine side effect, paralyzed. So if you don't know this, back 11 years ago, when the H1N1, when Obama was president, when the H1N1 vaccine came out, a lot of teenagers became paralyzed. Local nurse paralyzed due to COVID complications, needs help flying to Boston. Yeah, it's probably the people getting it from possible side effects for teens. Woman paralyzed for 12 hours after getting the first dose of Pfizer. Okay, that's 2 months ago. But my point is not now. My point is just go back through history. And so I want to do H1N1. I don't want new stuff that's coming out. I want to look back at history 11 years ago. Teen paralyzed after getting the H1N1 vaccine 11 years ago. Teens rare H1N1 side effect 11 years ago. Flu shot blamed for paralyzing Tampa girl 5 years ago. H1N1 vaccine risk 11 years ago. Doctors advise against swine flu vaccine 10 years ago in Australia. Get it? We've been down this road before. But people blindly are conformists these days and trust whatever the government tells them. That's okay. It's okay. But just know that you're the test person. Now, I'm thrown off Facebook right now for saying that exact thing, but I said test monkey. I said, you're the test monkey and got a 30-day ban from Facebook. Just know that. And if you go into it understanding that, there's nothing wrong with that. But what irritates me is there's so many people that don't understand that. They feel like these vaccines have already been tested and are safe. And that's not the case. No, you're the test person. That's how they're finding out if they're safe, because they're giving them out in mass and seeing what the adverse effects are. Now, there used to be a doctor. It's not this video.
You booked a
It's not
spacious
this
Virgo
video.
summer home with a pool big enough
There's
for
a
the most
doctor.
epic cannonballs. But the
Cecil County teen is in rehab.
It's not this one. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this. Let's see here. So there's a video. It's H1N1 vaccine safe. I was keeping up with this stuff. Guess when? So everybody gets mad at me and gets triggered when I start talking about this stuff on Facebook, or if I start talking about it on Instagram. I was keeping up with this stuff in 11 years ago during the H1N1 breakout. I was keeping up with this stuff just like people are keeping up with the C19 nowadays. I was keeping up with this and seeing what was going on. So everything that I'm saying now is the same stuff I was saying 11 years ago during the H1N1 outbreak. So this is the video I was looking for, because I saw this video 11 years ago. So I immediately came back when COVID started, the vaccines for COVID started coming out. I immediately came back to refresh my memory and watch this video. So here we go. And this applies to COVID as well. What this doctor says applies to the COVID vaccine as well.
It's been fully developed in the last 6 months. So as a result, we don't have millions of doses given to know how safe it is. It has been tested on several thousand individuals over last summer and appears to be a safe vaccine. And also in experts that deal with vaccine manufacturing, the process and the type of vaccine it is, the anticipation is it will be a safe vaccine. However, we'll really have to wait until millions of individuals have gotten this vaccine to be able to see if there are some minor side effects that people get. Now, some people worry about getting more serious side effects, such as may have happened back in 1976 when the last time we had an influenza that was related to a swine influenza occurred. As some may remember, there was an outbreak on a military base in the United States of swine flu, and a new vaccine was relatively rapidly put together and given to, I think it was over 40 million people. Some individuals developed a rare peripheral nerve problem called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which could cause some paralysis, which in its most severe form could be life-threatening, but usually was a self-limited disease that got better. It's still unclear to this day if this vaccine was actually associated with this disorder or not. But there is a possibility that a very, very, very small number of people got this disorder, Guillain-Barré, as a result of the vaccine. So we were obviously, concerned about any new vaccine. And as I said earlier, we just won't know until millions and millions of individuals get it. Now, what we should remember, though, is that although H1N1 influenza appears to be a mild illness in the majority of individuals that get it, there are some rare individuals who get serious, life-threatening, if not fatal complications from it. So like any decision that we make in life, we've got to weigh the balance of the risks. Fortunately, the risk of getting serious illness from H1N1 virus is low, but it's still not zero.
The H1N1 outbreak that started in 2009 and
Bam. So what that doctor said is 100% right on point. I mean, absolutely on point. But my problem today is you can't hear something like that. There's no doctor out there right now that is just putting it out there in layman's terms. Like, you have to weigh the benefits. Some people get sick by H1N1 and could die. So like anything else in life, you have to weigh the risk. So you have to make that choice for yourself. You don't hear that today because the big media overlords don't want anybody to have any kind of doubt. They want everybody just to believe that this vaccine has been tested thoroughly and it's 100% safe. It's not. It's being tested on you. If you got it, you're the test subject. And nobody has went into that thinking that these days. Everybody thinks the vaccine has already been tested and has already been deemed safe. It was never approved by the FDA. The FDA is the ones that just came out and put out the heart inflammation warning just now. If you go we could do that. Let's go to the FDA. Was this giving me the wrong screen here? Probably because I clicked on the wrong button. Let's see. FDA. And I cannot spell for anything anymore. Oh, there it is. Vaccine. FDA vaccine for COVID. Let's see. Should say FDA warning. FDA warning. Let's see. So here we go. Finally, we finally found an article. Let's blow it up so you guys can see it. FDA adds warning about rare heart inflammation to Pfizer, Moderna COVID vaccines. Okay. This stuff is buried. How nefarious is that? How nefarious is it that they are burying these stories where people don't see them because they don't want people to have any doubt that these vaccines are safe? So how nefarious is that the media is burying anything that has anything negative to say about these vaccines? It's crazy. And here's I'm going to end on this. So being a YouTuber, you guys probably don't know this. I saw this on a leftist channel, on somebody who reports leftist stuff. And it's a channel that I watch. He's like a crazy liberal dude, but I enjoy his content. He actually used to be on the Young Turks. He's as progressive liberal as it comes. He's a big Bernie fan. He's a big Bernie supporter, and crazy, wants socialist government and wants all of this stuff, right? So I listen to him because I love to get other people's perspectives. He did a video the other day like talking about the Trump stuff, and it was so funny because this guy is literally from Turkey. He was born, I think, in the States, but he grew up in Turkey. His family is from Turkey. He's Muslim. And he gets so offended about any Islamophobia. If anybody says anything about Muslims, he loses his shit. But the other day, he did a video about the Trump rally that happened in Ohio. I believe it was Ohio. And there was a girl that was going around for Newsmax or something like that, and she was interviewing all the people in the line. Now, there was a lot of elderly people, a lot of older white people, and you could brand them redneckish or whatever, but it was so funny to sit there and listen to him talking so much derogatory crap. Oh, look at these old Trump. I love Trump. Yeah. I'm white and I love Trump. Talking smack about these older white people and all of these derogatory terms. But if you flip the switch and if it was a bunch of Muslims in line, right? And somebody was making fun of a bunch of Muslims, calling them, goat effers or whatever, he'd lose it. But he can sit there and talk smack about these older white people and how dumb they are and how hickish they are. And they're a bunch of redneck white people, in America, we'd be better without those type people and all of this stuff. He should go to Turkey, right? He grew up in Turkey. Why are you here? Again, I'll ask that question. Why are you here? If you hate capitalism, if you hate America, if you're triggered by the American flag, get the out. Go somewhere else. You don't have to live here. There's so many people in the world that would love to live here, that would give 5 years off of their life to get to live in this country. People are immigrating from China, from Russia, from Ukraine, from Syria, from everywhere. Do you think all of these people are trying to get here because they hate America? No, they're getting here because they want a chance at a better life. And you're sitting there in your glass house throwing stones at the very country that gives you the right to sit there and talk about the country. You know, everything is not right in America. The government has done some very effed up things. I've seen it. I've read about it. I was reading about it in the 90s. I was appalled by the things the CIA done. I found out in the 90s. I was appalled, you know, when it comes down to it. But I don't want to live anywhere else. You know what I mean? And I'm not one of these Americans who haven't traveled and think America, you know, there's no other great countries out there. I thought about moving to France before the whole Syrian refugee thing pushed all these Syrians into Paris and France. I love Paris. I've been there many, many times. I've spent time there. I've worked there. I do love Paris. And I had a love affair with that city. And I actually at one time, a few years ago, thought about moving to Paris. I absolutely looked into it. I had a friend of mine. She went there and lived for 6 months. And, you know, I was talking to her while she was living there. So I really thought about it. I've been all over the world. I've been to Iceland, Greenland, France, Germany, the UK, Italy, Spain. I mean, I haven't just been to the United States. Yes, there's beautiful countries out there, but you don't find so many people from all over the world fighting to get into Spain. I mean, I guess there probably are, you know, I don't know. But when it comes to people talking about the American dream, it's America. And, you know, when I travel to other countries, one thing I can say is, you know, there's this leftist attitude. Like if you go to another country, and they find out you're American, that they immediately go, oh, dirty Americans, yuck. I never got that. I never got that. When I was in another country and somebody, oh, what are you from? Where are you from? I'd be like, I'm from Texas, United States. I live in Los Angeles, but I grew up in Texas. Oh, Texas. Yes, cowboy. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's so cool. American. Oh, you're American. Tell me what America like. Dude, I got that everywhere I went when I travel the world. I never got like, oh, yeah, dirty Americans. You know, the only thing I will say is in Paris, in France, they like to be, if you walk up to somebody on the street and you're trying to get directions from them or say something to them, it's like, excuse me, monsieur, you know, they like you to try, which we're kind of like that too in America. If you walk up to them and go, hey there, how are you? Can you tell me how to get down here to the cafe so I can get me a cappuccino? You know, they're going to look at you like, oh, you know, yeah, because you're abrasive. But they will help you and are very willing to help you if you, you know, excuse me, Miss, you know, if you try to, you know, use their language, they're very willing. You know, I mean, if you tell them you don't speak much French, but, you know, merci, you say thank you. And, you know, they're very, very nice. But if you come up to them like a hillbilly, you know, and just approach them like they should know English, they do get offended. You know what I mean? So I've heard people, Americans, you know, my Texas people, you know, going, oh, goddamn, them French, man, there's some rude sons of bitches. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're rude because they look at you like you're rude. You know what I mean? Because you just think everybody speaks your Texas lingo and everybody doesn't. You know what I mean? And I learned really quick in France that if you're polite and you're very couth and very, you know, and, you know, try to use whatever French you know and learn a few lines, learn to say merci, thank you. You know, they're very, very, very nice people. Anyway, guys, all right. I think it's time to exit the soapbox. It's an hour and 28 in. Man, the other day when I had my guest on, Kelly, we went for 2 hours, and now today I'm pushing an hour and a half. I used to never try to go over an hour. But I got like 6 people still in the room, so it's nice when I have people still in here. Let's see what Matilda's got to say. Oh wait, the Swiss. We had the Swiss Vapor. Let's look at this. Here in Switzerland, they approved only 3, Moderna, and I forgot the other one. You're in Switzerland, dude. I love Zurich. I've been to Zurich, Switzerland. Beautiful city, man. It's so clean. Zurich, Switzerland. Oh my God, that city is so clean. Everything is expensive as, but it's so clean. It's so clean. How do you guys keep those cities so clean, the Swiss Vapor? Because I live in Los Angeles, and I'm telling you, somebody from Zurich, Switzerland, who's never been to the United States, if they came to Los Angeles, they would literally be appalled. They would be appalled. Yeah, that's one thing I love about Switzerland, man. And it's funny because, you know, I got deemed a racist because I was talking about, like, there's certain countries out there, like you can even look at Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, Holland. If you look at these countries, they're some of the happiest in the world, and they're some of the safest in the world. Like Japan. Let's go to Japan. We don't have to use, because what Holland, Switzerland, Sweden, what those countries, Germany, what those countries all have in common, there's nothing but white people that live in those countries. I don't care what you say. I remember when I was in Berlin, you know, I had somebody that got very offended because they were, you know, I was saying when I was in Berlin, I didn't see any black people. I didn't see any brown people. All I saw was white people. And I remember being there on my 4th or 5th day being there, and I went into a coffee shop and there was a couple of black guys sitting there, and I was like, oh, black people. There are black people in Germany. And I was just amazed that there were some black people that I ran into at a coffee shop. But it took me 4 days of being out and around in the city before I saw any black people. This is Berlin. I'm not talking about some little podunk town, you know, outside of, you know, or in Germany. I'm talking about Berlin, their main city. It took me 4 days before I saw anybody of color. So, but if you look at those cities, of those countries, there's some of the happiest and the safest. So let's go to Japan. Let's leave the white people behind. Let's go to Japan. Okay. So Japan is very, very strict with their, my brain just went. If you want to immigrate to Japan, if you want to move to Japan, like myself as an American, if I wanted to move to Japan, if I wanted to move to Tokyo, let's say, if I wanted to immigrate to Tokyo, it's very hard to do. And the Japanese make it very hard to do. They don't want a lot of other people in their country. They want Japanese people in their country. They want people that understand their culture in their country. They're not really keen on outsiders immigrating into Japan. They're just not. A lot of people, they take a lot of heat from it, that they're racist. They're not racist. They have a good thing. They're all Japanese. They have their culture. They have their ways. Everybody understands those ways that are Japanese. You have to understand that. You have to respect that. And here's the kicker. Here is the kicker, right? You can talk all the you want about how racist Japanese are, or you can say whatever you want to say about them. But here's the kicker. Here's the bottom line. Is Tokyo now the largest city in the world? I think Tokyo is now deemed the largest city in the world with a population somewhere around 32 million. If I'm not mistaken, let me look. My brain may be. Let me verify, because my brain I may be completely wrong here. So let's look this up. Let's just put largest city. I'm going to say I think it's Tokyo. Let's see if I'm right. Maybe wrong. I know at one time it was Mexico City, which I've been to. Tokyo, Japan. Bam. Am I right or am I motherfucking right? Right here. Largest city in the world is Tokyo, Japan. 37 million. I said 38 million. Damn, I was close. 37 million population. Tokyo, Japan. Right? Okay. What's the kicker? What is the kicker there? What's the kicker? You ask? The kicker is Tokyo, Japan is one of the safest cities in the world. And it's the biggest. And they have no integration at all. Everybody's Japanese. It's almost impossible to immigrate to Japan. Now you can do it, but you're going to have to jump through some hoops, and it's not going to be cheap because they don't make it cheap, because they don't want you there. They don't want me there. They don't want me to move there. They don't want you to move there. They don't want you there. If you're not Japanese and if you weren't born there, they don't want you there. And I absolutely commend them for that. I say there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care if you deem it racist or whatever. They have a beautiful, very civil, very safe society they've created for themselves. They don't need you there. You may be a criminal. You may stab somebody. They don't need you there. You may be black. You may be white. You may be whatever. They don't want you there. And when I see people that move to Japan, I just think to myself, wow, they don't want you there. You've immigrated to a country that doesn't want you there. And they make it very clear they don't want you there. There's literally like a movement of black guys that are moving to Japan. You can find videos on YouTube. And I just think to myself, that's weird. That's kind of crazy because they don't want you there. They don't want you there. I don't care if you're black or white, yellow, orange, pineapple, purple, whatever. If you're not Japanese, you weren't born there, they don't want you there because they've created this little haven for themselves. They have the largest country in the world, or the largest city in the world, and it's safe. And there's no city in the United States that's that safe because we welcome everybody. And the unfortunate thing about that is there's nothing wrong with being welcoming to everybody. The only problem with that is you have people that have a moralistic compass that's in the dirt and that have a criminal mindset. Let's see what Matilda says. Matilda says, my Japan trip was canceled due to COVID. Was so bummed. Not sure when I'll be able to get there now. Too busy with the move to Tennessee. I have never been to Japan, Matilda, but I do want to go. I actually looked at moving there. You know what I mean? Just to experience it, because I want to live somewhere at some time out of the States. I've never lived abroad, and I want to pick a country at some time and move there. So I looked at Tokyo. I've looked at Hong Kong. I want to pick like an Asian state for some reason. I don't know why. It'll probably be more like Thailand or Vietnam or something like that. But with Japan, I ruled Japan out just for the simple fact is I know those people don't want me there. They don't want me there. I don't want to live there if they don't want me there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like they're going to be rude to me, but I know deep down, even though they don't say it, they don't want me there, if that makes sense. So I would visit Japan. I would visit Tokyo, but I would never leave. I would never live there because I know those people's wishes is they don't want me there. The Swiss Vapor says, go to Manila. That's a good one too. Swiss Vapor. That would be a good one. All right, guys. Gosh, we're running an hour. So it's funny because I'm a lazy bitch, and it takes forever. If I go over an hour, then I have to wait instead of 4 minutes, I got to wait 15 minutes to download the audio to this, to upload it to Apple iTunes for just the audio part of the podcast. And here I am, an hour and 40 and still going. Random Stacker goes, you're still live. Yeah, we're still going, Random. Just getting ready to wrap it up. Matilda says, I've been to 7 continents, love many places, but the only other country I've seriously considered moving is to Ireland. Ireland's got their problems too, but yeah, it's nice. They get along a lot better with, the UK now. So that's a good thing that they're not, the UK and Ireland aren't fighting each other with Northern Ireland and all that stuff that was going on, the IRA back in the 80s. They all seem to get along a lot better. Yeah, Random Stacker says I came back at the end of the show. It's all good, buddy. You can watch the rebroadcast if you want. It's a long one, an hour and 40 minutes. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for stopping in. I may do one more live on Friday with StreamYard before I cancel. I think I'm going to probably cancel this weekend. So the StreamYard live software that I'm using to multi-stream to Twitch and YouTube. Once the live stops, if I can't multi-stream from OBS, then the live stream will always probably be on Twitch. So I may lose a bunch of you guys. But if I can multi-stream it through OBS, I'll probably still multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. But if I start just live streaming to Twitch, then I'll just load it onto YouTube as a video. But as of this weekend, probably, maybe even Friday, we'll see. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to be canceling my StreamYard subscription, which is what I use to live stream to YouTube right now. Anyway, guys, just wanted to let you know that we got 8 people in the room. I always feel weird leaving when there's still several people watching. Matilda says, I think Brexit is responsible for them getting along now. Have a great weekend, everyone. Yes, everyone. We'll see you back here hopefully on Friday. We'll see. Thank you, Matilda. It was great to see you, Trav, man. Matilda, it was so good to see you, Trav, man. So good to see you. The Swiss Vapor, dude. So good to have you, man. Ciro, so good to have you. Couple of new faces there I've never seen before in the chat. Who else am I missing? Oh, Random Stacker, Monster John, Joe Eldorado, Almighty Flybased. What's up? I didn't even see them. They were on Twitch. Yeah. Thank you guys for stopping in. And remember, let me find my outro here.
Thank you for listening to the American Nomad Podcast. Until next time, keep looking up because that's where it all is.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace, love, and chicken grease.